What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Dedrian, and this is my review for the Valentine's Day edition of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you're notified when the City of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian_180 on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow me on Fanbase, Blue Sky, and you can follow me on Facebook at Dedrian. Man, tonight's AEW Dynamite. This was a fun episode. This was a good episode. I wouldn't say that it was a notch down from what we experienced last week on Dynamite, but yet there was some story progression, and we got two matches announced tonight. One, we kind of knew it was a foregone conclusion from the moment they showed up in Jacksonville in white suits and, had that stare down with Sting and Darby Allin. I'm alluding to Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, the Young Bucks. So that was a foregone conclusion. Like, okay, we see where that's going. But man, this was a good episode of Dynamite. There was no tease to AEW Big Business, yet at the same time, they really promoted Big Business. But man, there was some really cool stuff on tonight's AEW Dynamite episode. But before I go into the things that really stood out to me in this episode of AEW Dynamite, let me give you guys a result. So we had Adam Copeland and Daniel Garcia. They ended in a no contest. You had Nick Wayne and Killswitch interfere right before Adam Copeland was going to make Daniel Garcia tap and everything. Christian Cage and Mother Wayne, as they called her on commentary. He comes out. He hits Daniel Garcia. Matt Menard, a.k.a. Daddy Magic, comes in. They beat him up. Then they put Adam Copeland on the chair. Christian Cage hits the concerto. So that leaves you to wonder, are we going to get a tag team match or a six-man tag? Might be asking, what do I mean by that? Are we going to get Adam Copeland and Daniel Garcia versus Nick Wayne and Killswitch? Or are we getting Daddy Magic, Daniel Garcia, and Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, and Killswitch? Something to think about. Also, as I was watching this, I'm like, okay, Mother Wayne, hit Adam Copeland with a low blow with the forearm and everything. And I kept thinking, I'm like, when is Beth Phoenix going to show up and help her husband? Like, I don't know. Let me know if you're thinking the same thing. Comment below. Like, is Beth Phoenix on her way to AEW and, like, nobody's talking about it? Like, it's so, like, we're dealing with, AEW's, the news is about Okada, Mercedes, Ospreay, new set, which I'll get into that a little bit later. Like, all this news is about everything else, and like Beth Phoenix showing up is like so under the radar, yet it's possible to happen. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I thought about that as this segment happened. I'm like, where's Beth Phoenix, man? Like, she would fit right into this storyline. So we'll see. You had Wardlow defeat Barrett Brown. That was just easy 1, 2, 3. That match, I mean, Wardlow's had many of these squash matches. I didn't have a problem with it, but I can see other people having a problem with it. It was just another squash match that he had, and it was really quick. Adam Copeland came down. Of course, the Undisputed Kingdom were wrestling. One member of the Undisputed Kingdom was wrestling later that night, Matt Taven and Orange Cassidy in a Texas Death Match. But yeah, that basically was it. I didn't have no problem with it, but I could see why people had a problem with it. Like, they're, what are they doing with Wardlow? Like, where's this going? More so, not so much where's it going. We know this is eventually leading to Wardlow just turning on Adam Copeland when he gets healthy and everything. But, where's the progression and where's the story progressing till we get to that point? It just seems like we're just going around in circles with Wardlow and everything. Where he's at now is just these squash matches. We had Jon Moxley defeat Dax Hardwood. Man, that was a good opener. That was a solid opener. Both guys kissed each other. Kind of just a taunting thing. Moxley got the W. He started beating down Dax Hardwood. Cash Wheeler came in. Then you had Claudio come in, and basically Claudio and Mox, like, basically like mopped the floor with them. Then it was announced that those two teams will be facing each other next week on AEW Dynamite. Like I said, you had Matthew and Nicholas Jackson defeat Top Flight. I am digging the Young Bucks and this EVP heel corporate version of them. This is so cool. And that promo, which I'm going to get into later, that promo exchange between Darby and the Young Bucks and just that whole thing, man, they're leaning to all the assumptions, the talk, the perception that people have of the Young Bucks. Man, they're leaning into it. Let me know what you guys think of the Young Bucks persona, this EVP corporate persona. I like it. They're really going like heel. Like, I think this is one of their best heel turns. It's probably going to go down as probably the best since they were in Bullet Club back in 2018. But man, they're leaning into it. But man, this was a really solid match. Please check this match out. I know a lot of people rag on the Young Bucks as far as, oh, they do a lot of super kicks this and super kicks that. Like, the way they're having their matches, they're using some real heelish tactics that most people are like, oh, they're not. No, they're doing it. And I like it. There was a point in the match where Matthew Jackson was just like, man, they're good. And it was just, kind of like, these guys taking advantage, like, oh my God, they're really, man, these guys good. Like, they're not succumbing to what we're delivering. And sure enough, they got it. Then you had Willow Nightingale defeat Sky Blue due to the interference, or let me phrase that, the distraction of Stokely Hathaway, while Sky Blue had Willow Nightingale pinned. Willow Nightingale gets the pin. Check this match out. This is a really good match, man. These this women's division is really heating up for the eventual arrival of one Mercedes Moné on March 13th. That was a really solid match, really good. You had Chris Statlander come out with Willow and Stokely at the beginning, at the the part of the stage, and then she went back and everything. I'm really interested to see where this Willow Nightingale, Stokely Hathaway, Chris Statlander thing's going. We know that Chris and Willow have this slight beef with Sky Blue and Julia Hart, so I'll really interested to see where that goes. But man, Stokely Hathaway, they need to put that man on commentary. Like, I would personally, I would love if you had Excalibur, Taz, and Stokely Hathaway on commentary, because the exchange between Taz and Stokely Hathaway was freaking hilarious. Literally, they're having this discussion as far as it's like their shirts are orange or yellow, and vice versa. Please go watch that. It's freaking hilarious. But yeah, this match was pretty solid. Then, last but not least, Orange Cassidy defeated Matt Taven in a Texas Death Match. Matt Taven, in this match, I feel he reminded people of why he was a major player in ROH before Tony Khan bought it. This was a really solid match. Of course, you had a distraction and interference from Mike Bennett, Roderick Strong. You had Trent Beretta come out and everything. Both men were busted open, bleeding and everything. But Orange Cassidy eventually got the W. This was a pretty solid match. I don't know if I would have had this in the show. Yeah, it's really interesting. Honestly, looking back on it, I would have had the Young Bucks and Top Flight be the main event, where it leads to Darby and Sting, or the match announcement. Hey, this is the match announcement: Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks at Revolution. Like, I would have ended it that way. The Orange Cassidy, Matt Taven, like, if you were gonna put that on a main event, that would have fit more of an Rampage main event than a Dynamite main event. But that's how they chose to do it. It is what it is. But I would have preferred it in that order, because the Matthew Jackson and Top Flight match was really good. But that promo afterwards between Darby and the Young Bucks, like that would have been really precise to end the show on that, where it's like it would have just got people talking, like, man, Darby did this, and man, this. It just felt like with this Orange Cassidy Matt Taven, like, oh wow, this is a good match, but it really doesn't leave a lot of people talking afterwards and everything. So that's my only take on those matches and everything. But man, let's get into it. Man, oh man. Starting off first, it was announced. So let me backtrack and everything. I'm happy that we're getting this match. Renee Paquette was with Takeshita, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Don Callis. She asked him, "What's next?" Callis mentions no one wants to wrestle both men. He's like, Don Callis family has all the talent. We need to be on this pay-per-view AEW Revolution. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to put a match together. And I'm going to put two Callis members against each other. And what match does he put together? Konosuke Takeshita and Will Ospreay. That is going to be the match at AEW Revolution. Man, he mentions this is going to be the match of the decade. Man, I honestly feel this match is one of those matches where you're like, you know what? These guys in probably 5 years are going to be wrestling for the AEW World Championship. Takeshita, people have mentioned that he's like Baby Okada. Like there's a lot of comparisons. Like, man, he just has that same vibe as Okada. Like he's just a young Okada. Like he's physical. Like, man, the brother can wrestle. But man, I am looking forward to that match. This is going to be a dope match. Are we going to get someone leaving the Don Callis family? Let me know what you guys think. Are we going to get a turn of Will Ospreay turning face on the Don Callis family, where we have Ospreay and the United Empire versus, the Don Callis family? I don't know if they can use the United Empire because that is a trademark of New Japan, but we'll see where that goes. But I'm interested to see this match at AEW Revolution. I really liked how they announced this match. I know some people are like, oh, it should be big, but I really like when AEW does match announcements like this backstage, where it's just like, ooh, okay, oh my God, we're getting this match. Like that's one thing that they're really good at. That they really, it's underestimated. That they, when they announce these matches in these backstage segments, and usually they really set up one of the great talkers within that segment to like tell that story to lead to that match announcement. But man, Takeshita Ospreay at AEW Revolution, man, that is going to be a stacked card. You already got Deonna Purrazzo, Tony Storm. You got Eddie Kingston and oh my, I am missing it right now. Give me 1 second. Oh man, we got Ospreay. Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson. Then we have Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. And I'll get into the match that's the other match that's been added to this pay-per-view. But man, I'm a big fan of Will Ospreay. I am a big fan of Takeshita. The moment he came on the scene, I was like, ooh, man, this guy reminds me of Takeshita reminds me of a lot of Okada, and there's elements of Masahiro Chono. Like he reminds me of like a hybrid of those two, and a little bit of Naito. Like he has those three. Like if you could put all three of those wrestlers together, you get Takeshita. So I'm really looking forward to that. Now, the other thing that really stood out to me, and that really was just like, man, this is chef's kiss. Love it. Man, that Samoa Joe, Swerve, Hangman promo. Man, oh man. All I got to say is Swerve Strickland. Man, it's hard for me to believe or to imagine that Swerve Strickland doesn't leave AEW Revolution as world champion. I don't know how that is executed or if that is the plan, because the reaction that Swerve Strickland keeps getting in these crowds, man, or these shows, louder, louder, louder. Whose house? Swerve's house. He's literally getting the loudest reaction in the crowd, with the exception of Sting because he's on his farewell tour. But he's getting like the loudest reaction in the arena. Samoa Joe comes out. He mentions, "Hey, they made my match with mediocre and the dumber. If I'm not hurting one of you, I'm hurting both of you." Swerve comes out. Prince Nana comes out. The fans cheer. Whose house? Swerve's house. There was a funny part in this segment where Swerve Strickland, he's starting this, exchange with Samoa Joe. And then this someone in the crowd says, "What'd he say?" And everybody just starts laughing. Swerve like breaks a little bit. Nana, like you can see him kind of like smirk and everything. That was pretty funny. Swerve mentions, "I'm looking to become one of the greatest of all time. No one outgrinds me. Put some respect on my resume. And I will be holding that world title above my head." I'm like, ooh, man, this is good. And maybe it's a good thing that AEW's in this dilemma, because you have Samoa Joe, who's been surprisingly a strong champion. And by surprisingly, I don't mean like, he can hold, like, no, we knew he could be world champion even going back to TNA. But it was surprising because it was actually, the better term is more unexpectedly. At this time, like, just, oh my God, we go from MJF and this guy, and like Samoa Joe's doing a terrific job. And it's like, man, Samoa Joe's doing a terrific job. But damn, Swerve is just, damn, he's red. He's white hot right now, man. It's like, like, do you make that switch? After he mentions that, Hangman Page comes out. The fans start booing. Like, Hangman Page is getting Matthew and Nicholas Jackson reaction. And that's a key thing to remember. Let me know if you guys think that Matthew Jackson and Hangman Page are somehow going to come together, because we know the Young Bucks are heels. Hangman Page, the crowd don't like him. So it's like, are we going to get the heel elite that we got back in 2018, which eventually led to AEW? Something to think about, because they're really kind of both leaning into that. Hangman Page comes out. Again, like I said, the fans are booing. He's like, "You don't deserve 1 second of my time, Swerve. You couldn't get the job done. You couldn't beat me." He's like, "You don't deserve to be in this championship match." Samoa Joe mentions, "Come Revolution, I'm beating both your asses." And he just dropped the mic and left. And it was like, oh, man. So this match is going to be something we're probably, honestly, it's hard, like, watching all three of these guys wrestle in separate matches and then, different matches and everything. It's going to be really intriguing and interesting how this match is executed. I'm really looking forward to it. Samoa Joe style, Hangman Page's style, Swerve Strickland style, like just those different styles and just how it's going to mesh. And look, Hangman Page is a former AEW World Champion. You got Samoa Joe, who is the former, or actually, let me phrase that, not former, current AEW World Champion. Then you got Swerve Strickland, a former Tag Team Champion, as well as Hangman Page, and you got former TNT Champion Samoa Joe. So all these guys have held gold in AEW. So you have a championship quality match with former champions. So this is going to be a very good match, and I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'm really interested to see, man, is Swerve Strickland going to leave Revolution AEW World Champion? Like, that is my question, because it's like, man, he's hot, but how do you, like, he's hot, yet Samoa Joe is doing a damn good job as champion. Like, how do you make that switch? Is it the right time? Man, that's a tough one. Moving on, the Young Bucks versus Sting and Darby Allin is official. So, man, oh man, let's get into this. So, mind you, after the match between Matthew and Nicholas Jackson versus Top Flight, which they won after Matthew Jackson low blowed Darius Jackson and they hit the EVP trigger and everything. So they get Tony Schiavone in there. They mentioned, oh, we're number one contenders. We listen to you trash talk. That might be a breach of contract. That's publicly disparaging us. They start mentioning the Young Bucks as they're talking, man. They're mentioning a lot of stuff that we have heard through various reports of things that have transpired in the brawl out. Again, those are reports. It's reported. There's one side, there's another side. These were all reports. I'm not saying this is what written down, but again, let me emphasize, these are things that were being reported. But they're mentioning and they're leaning into it's like, I'm like, they're really leaning into this. So they mentioned, you're publicly disparaging us. Do you have a problem with us finding you? They shoved Tony Schiavone on the floor, and it's like, oh damn, like this went to another level. Then Nick Jackson's like, let us help you up. So they attempt to help him up. So Nick Jackson grabs Tony Schiavone's left arm, and Matt Jackson grabs Tony Schiavone's right arm, and they look at each other, and everybody in the crowd's like, oh my God, they're going to EVP trigger Tony Schiavone. Like, no. And you see Tony Schiavone like, oh God, no. All of a sudden, music hits. Darby Allin hits the ring. He mentions the original mission statement. It was, for everybody. I had to watch and sit, watch you hire your. Okay, I wonder if He mentions I had to watch your shit friends get hired. Again, the Young Bucks were leaning into it, but Darby Allin was leaning into a lot of things that I can honestly say I've seen people who review AEW, and I'm not talking about content creators, former wrestlers. He was mentioning a lot of stuff that they've mentioned and heard from other people about the perception or things that could be perceived that way. I'm not saying it is fact or anything, but these are the perceptions that were being reported to people that I know that I've personally heard. Like, I had to watch your sit friends get hired. And he's like, one EVP took it, had the sense, and then you just get this loud Cody chant. Cody, and it's like, they're really leaning, like, that's not the first time and by AEW has leaned into a story where you start hearing Cody chants. And it was more recent. I think it was like 2 weeks ago or something like that. Like, you've been hearing stuff like that. So it's like, that's interesting. Again, AEW wrestling history is AEW history. So again, he is former EVP and he played a part in the history of AEW. So they do like to call back and stuff like that. But I thought that was really interesting. He let that Cody chants. He's like, wow, when you guys signed your new contracts last year, it was like travel light, schedule easy. What is this, all friendship wrestling? And I'm like, like I've heard, like I said, this is another thing that I've heard other wrestlers who review AEW Dynamite mention that they've heard people, say that, it seems like that perception and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, this is good. Like, this is good. Darby mentions the first Dynamite. Darby wasn't on there, but Brandon Cutler, really? That guy? I'm like, damn. Like, man, this is some good stuff. Like, I know those of you who are watching this, you might not be fans of the Young Bucks, and some of you might be fans of the Young Bucks, but you have to admit, man, the stuff that they're leaning into, they're alluding to it. They're alluding to a lot of stuff that people have talked about, whether it's content creators, former wrestlers, reports that you've heard. Like, they're leaning into it, and it's like, oh, this is good. And it's not being corny, but yet at the same time, it's not being like just sarcastically condescending towards. It's just like they're like that nod, wink, wink type thing, and I like it. I like it. I've heard these things. I've read the reports. Do I think it's true? That's not for me to judge. Again, these are reports. This isn't facts. This is how it's really going down. Again, these are reports. These are speculation. This is speculation. So I like this stuff. I like it. Then Darby mentions, you want to be Sting's final match? Cool. At Revolution, we got the Young Bucks and Darby Allin and Sting for the AEW Tag Team Champion. So that is the other match that was added to AEW Revolution. Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Sting's last match, again, that's another thing, is Darby and Sting going to drop the titles? Or are they going to do something that nobody pretty much expects and Sting and Darby win the titles? I personally don't think so. The reason being, there was an interview that Darby Allin did with Denise Salcedo. Please go check out her channel. She does terrific work and everything. She interviewed him at the Super Bowl, I think it's the Media Row or something like that, and he mentioned that he's supposed to go to Mount Everest in, I believe, April. Do the math. March 3rd, April. Is Darby really going to have those titles afterwards and with a new partner? So I don't think they will keep the titles. That's going to be interesting how that plays out. But, man, that match is getting a lot of heat, momentum, story. Man, the meats, potatoes, everything going into it. That is going to be a fun match. And that place is already sold out. We're already getting the Ospreay and Takeshita. We're getting Eddie Kingston, Bryan Danielson. We're getting Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. We're getting Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm. Damn! I don't think that's not even the final card. Oh my God, man. I can't wait for that AEW Revolution pay-per-view. But man, this segment, please go watch it. Me describing it doesn't know justice. Please go watch. You have to watch that Young Bucks Darby Allin promo segment on tonight's edition of AEW Dynamite, because that was gold. That was gold. That was a lot of stuff that, again, like I said, people have been speculating, reporting, talking about, mentioning, alluding to, and everything. Good stuff. Whew. On to other things. So, Tony Khan tweeted like an hour before AEW Dynamite. And this is what the tweet reads. AEW Dynamite is red. Hashtag AEW Dynamite is blue. Until the Wednesday after AEW Revolution, when we'll have a brand new set for you. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Spend it with us on Wednesday night, coming up next on TBS Network tonight. So, there has been speculation and rumors regarding AEW Dynamite's new set. One of the rumors and speculation that I heard was there might be the return of the tunnels, kind of like a hybrid of the old set and the new set. So like the two tunnels, the screen, like it might be something. We just got to wait and see. There's a lot, man. It just feels like AEW Revolution is the revolution for AEW. Like, this is just what's going to really, again, a lot of people say, oh, we hear this all the time. Oh, this is the thing that's going to get AEW over here. Like, no, watching this and what they're doing and the stories they're telling, the cohesiveness that they're doing with all these stories and these character building, and especially how the AEW women's division is being booked and the stories involved in there. It's not perfect, but man, they're doing something the AEW women's division has momentum. The world title has momentum. The TNT title, it's like, okay, this is going somewhere. The TBS title, it's going somewhere with Julia Hart, Sky Blue, Willow, and Chris Statlander. You got the international title. Eventually, Orange Cassidy's going to drop that title. Of course, you have the 6-man tag and the trios titles. Eventually, you're going to have the Bullet Club Gold and Acclaim wrestle each other. So, a lot of momentum, but man, I'm really interested to see what that new set will look like for AEW Dynamite. Let me know what you guys think. Are you for a new set of AEW Dynamite? Do you like the current set of AEW Dynamite, or do you like, man, you know what? Maybe it does need some changing up and everything. Last but not least, and this was announced by CMLL, we're getting AEW versus CMLL March 29th at Arena Mexico. And if you have not seen Arena Mexico, Google it. That is one of the most beautiful arenas for professional wrestling that I have ever seen. It's right up there with the Garden. It's right up there with the Tokyo Dome. I'm trying. What was it the Lord Albert's Hall, or oh my God, the hall that WB had the it was one of the WrestleFests in 1992. I can't remember. Forgive me, guys. Let me know. Comment below what hall was that in 1992 with the WWF. But man, that is a beautiful arena. So we're getting the Blackpool Combat Club and Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, and Wheeler Yuta versus Mystico, Volador Jr., Blue Panther, and Ultimo Guerrero. So that is going to be a fantastic match on March 29th. And then also you're getting, with the Luchadores, you're getting Willow Nightingale, Tessa Blanchard, and La Catalina versus Stephanie Vacor, Zexus, and La Lluvia. I believe that's it. Whew, that's going to be a dope card. I'm looking forward to how that plays out. And I really like how they built up this interaction between CMLL and AEW. Like, that's going to be real cool. And let's see what happens with the Forbidden Door. If we get a third party to that Forbidden Door. But overall, like I said, man, this was a dope AEW Dynamite. The Matt Taven, Orange Cassidy match, they beat the hell out of each other. A fun match. I just wish it was on Rampage. And I wish the Young Bucks, Darby Allin, Top Flight, that whole match segment thing, that should have been the main event, because you want to end the show with people talking like, oh my God, we're getting Darby and Sting versus the Young Bucks, and man, Darby said this and the Young Bucks said this. I think that's one of the mishaps that they did on tonight's AEW Dynamite. But again, like I said, overall, this was a really good show. You had a moment with the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. We're going to get a 12-man tag on Rampage. I'm really hoping this whole thing, this experiment, ends quickly and we just unify the titles and they go to separate ways. That's just me. The Toni Storm video was freaking hilarious. Literally, the tattoo that her and Deonna Purrazzo got, she put a sword. She had a sword tattooed through it. And Deonna Purrazzo's with Renee Paquette, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to break your arm, bitch. So go watch that video and that interview segment. Another solid thing that I liked. Yeah, Moxley, Dax Harwood, that was a really good episode. But yeah, this was a really good episode of AEW Dynamite. Only a few things, if they would have switched up the matches and everything with Orange Cassidy and Matt Taven and the Young Bucks and Top Flight, and the Wardlow match, I mean, it was cool. But again, that's something else that could have been on Rampage. But other than that, this was a really good show. You can tell that Tony Khan is holding some stuff back after Revolution and maybe at Revolution. So it's one of those things like, they normally, like, what are they holding back? That's the question. What are they holding back? Let me know what you guys think. What do you think Tony Khan's holding back? But man, that is my review for the Valentine's Day edition of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when the City of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian _180 on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Fanbase, and you can follow me on Facebook at Dedrian Cologne. With that, folks, like I said, 2024. So far, we haven't had any wacky news yet, but it's still early in 2024. Never say never. Expect the unexpected, and that's just how professional wrestling is. There's never a dull moment in professional wrestling. So with that, folks, I am